Welcome to Quitting Made Real by Nicorette, the podcast bringing you real stories about breaking the smoking addiction. My name is Cynthia Loyst, and I will say that quitting smoking is one of the best things I ever did for myself. We have an incredible lineup of guests, and they're sharing their unique stories of how everyone affected by nicotine addiction can help make quitting real. Tara Slone is a former musician turned broadcaster who will be a familiar face, especially to hockey fans across Canada. What people might not be as familiar with is the fact that she was also a smoker for 20 years. Tara, I feel like we have circled around the same arenas for a long time in our social lives and in this city. You are a former musician turned broadcaster. I remember your music, and I can just picture us hanging out in similar bars. During the 90s, everything was a smoke-filled club.
Oh my God.
Right?
I can't believe it used to be that way.
Everywhere. And we just accepted this. Now, you are living as a musician. I'm just curious, like, how much of your identity as a smoker was connected to your musical life?
I think a lot, It's not that I had this like concrete thought, like I'm cooler if I have a cigarette in my hand, but there's this culture, like, first of all, smoking in bars is a thing and you kind of tend to congregate. But also if you have to go outside for a cigarette, that's a social act in itself.
Yeah.
But certainly in the music world, especially at that time, late 90s, early 2000s, it was just everywhere. Our tour bus, we smoked on our tour bus. And even the non-smokers just seemed to be okay with like rolling with it.
True.
And like, God bless them. But like, we all smelled disgusting.
Yes.
Right? So yeah, it was certainly part of the rock and roll identity.
Everywhere. It was ubiquitous.
Everywhere.
Do you remember, like, for me, it was when I was, a teenager, I was surrounded by a lot of smoking. My father smoked. And then eventually I found myself just really curious about what this thing was. And I don't remember intentionally being like, oh, I'm going to look cool if I do this. I just found myself sort of fixated on it. It was a feature in a lot of music, videos as well, and movies at that time. And I remember the very first time I decided, okay, I'm going to try it. This is sort of like a rebellious act. Do you remember what sort of motivated or what the circumstances were when you first tried
I
smoking?
really do. And it's kind of shocking to me because now I'm a parent of a teenager and I was younger then than my daughter is now when I first tried smoking.
Give me
Like I was turning 14.
oh my God.
I
yeah,
know.
Yeah.
And like I was a baby.
Mhm.
And I was actually at summer camp when I tried it for the first time. So there were some actual cooler kids. Like I do think like kids that I thought were cooler than me.
Yes.
And I do think there is that kind of mystique, or at least there was, of, the cool, the bad kids, like
Yeah.
the rebels smoke.
Yeah.
And it's kind of romanticized in that way. And so there was just like this clique and I wanted to hang out with them and I tried smoking. And I didn't like it at all.
That's the rub, right? The very first time it's disgusting.
It's disgusting. And
Yeah.
I remember even the second and third time I didn't like it. And then all of a sudden, I guess my taste buds kind of went, oh, this is all right. And obviously the nicotine takes hold and then the rest is history.
Yeah.
I mean, it's insidious and it's fast too.
Yeah, it's hard to explain. My father found in a jacket pocket a pack of cigarettes, and I remember him bringing me into our living room. My mother had never smoked, but my dad was so angry with me, and he said to me, I've been a smoker my whole life. I don't know how you could let this happen. You had better education than me. And at the time, I was kind of like a sometimes smoker, and so I thought, like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm fine. I'm not even hooked yet. But it didn't matter, the education.
No.
I still ended up getting hooked. And I don't think you can understand the concept of an addiction until you're in it.
That's right. And, not everybody's as susceptible as others. And I remember, my mom smoked. I remember going to the store for her when I was a kid. And I remember ripping up her cigarettes. I was disgusted by it.
Yeah.
And, smoking in cars and on planes and on buses. And it was nauseating to me. And so, yeah, sure. Intellectually, I was like, I'm never going to do this. But it gets you.
Was there a turning point for you? Like for me, it was like subtly creeping up on me over the years as it went by. I would have moments where I was like, oh, this is disgusting. Or you'd look at an ashtray and just be like, bleh. Or you'd smell someone else when they came in from the cold and you'd just be like, oh, do I smell like that? Oh, well, who cares? You'd have these moments of like clarity and then you'd forget about them. Did you have either a wake up call or a health scare or anything like that that sort of led you on the path to decide you wanted to quit?
I mean, I tried to quit multiple times. I don't know how many. I mean, gosh, I smoked for over 2 decades,
Hmm.
which is mortifying to me. Um, but I do remember one of the catalysts that really led me to quitting for real. I was at a nice restaurant having a nice dinner, and I remember not appreciating the company I was with, not appreciating the food I was eating. I just couldn't wait for it to be done so I could go outside and have a cigarette. And something clicked. I was like, this is not okay. Like this, I'm not letting myself live in the moment here. I am an actual, like, I'm just beholden to this stick. So I think, that really stayed in my mind as I was moving towards like quitting for real.
So did you have like a day, did you do that thing where, okay, I'm going to quit on this day, and do you use willpower, or was it more like, I'm just going to cut down for a bit? Like walk me through your mental process of how you were going to do this.
I mean, I think I probably tried everything at various times. Cold turkey, that did not work for me. I tried hypnotherapy
So did I.
once,
Yep.
and it worked a little bit, but I think I gave in, felt a little guilty, then just fully gave in. But when I did it for real, I mean, sort of the other thing that was going on in my life is I had made a shift from being out on the road as a musician and moved into broadcasting. So I had different social group. I was in an office all day. So it was like really glaring to go out for those smoke breaks.
Yep.
And I really felt it. Like I just sort of felt, ugh,
Yeah.
this is not right.
Yeah.
But I also met who's now my ex-husband. He was not a smoker. So, it gave me that extra motivation. And so I did it. I used nicotine patches.
Same.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it really, that was it. And yeah, so I mean, it was a level of, obviously I was very committed at that point. And I do think, trying to quit multiple times, just not giving up. That's really part of the trick.
So eventually, obviously, it stuck, right? You
Mhm.
did something enough times to make it work. So do you remember what some of the toughest challenges were to sticking with it? Like take me back to that feeling and how you worked through it.
Well, I think for me, there were so many associations. I mean, coffee in the
Mhm.
morning, right? That was like my favorite. And I mean, like I can kind of feel it now, even though the idea repulses me. But I remember, you wake up in the morning, just the taste of coffee and the taste of a cigarette.
Yep.
And that was a habit I really had to shift. Being out with friends, that, like I said, that act of like the going outside, this group migration to the sidewalk, not being part of that was something else. After meals, all of these sort of times where you just usually have a cigarette, you kind of have to
Yeah.
reframe that habit.
I remember that too. Like it was just like, okay, everybody's going out. It was a big part of my work culture as well. Like people would do meetings at that time. Like thank goodness I feel like this has shifted in the culture now. But it was like everyone would go out and I thought, oh my God, I'm missing out on parts of conversations, not just with friends, but with potential colleagues. And so it was like almost like grieving certain parts of my life and certain parts of my identity that I felt like were being shed.
I think so too. And I think, for me, it was actually part of that was shifting from Tara Slone, professional musician, to Tara Slone, broadcaster, which was hard for me because I had made a conscious decision to adjust my life. And part of it was lifestyle. Part of it was knowing that, being on the road, not getting enough sleep, not eating well, smoking too many cigarettes. It was all part of, for me, it wasn't going to be a sustainable lifestyle. But yes, you do. There is, I think that's a good word. Like you do kind of grieve the loss of this persona. But then, I couldn't be happier.
Yeah,
at this
same,
point.
same. So Nicorette is the official quit smoking partner of the NHL, and discipline we know is so important when it comes to sports. So talk about the role that discipline played in your quit journey.
I mean, it really is everything because when you have an addiction that is this powerful, it's really easy to fall back in it. And so you have to have this level of constant consciousness and just rein yourself back in.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly, I work with hockey players, and so I see how disciplined they are. And so,
Was that an
yeah.
inspiration? Like, was that
No, I mean,
No.
back then, no, I transitioned into hockey, thankfully, after my smoking days were over. But I've always been really intrigued by the discipline levels of elite athletes, even before I ended up working in the sports world. And yeah, I think it was also like I didn't have that kind of discipline maybe coming up. It was discipline, work ethic. They were all things that I really learned when I was a little bit older. Um, and so I was really proud of myself for actually practicing that level of discipline because I didn't always do that through my life.
Were there certain things that you would use? Like, I feel like, you have to try different methodologies to kind of
Mhm.
work through that discomfort. Because that's also ultimately what this is an exercise in. When you're quitting smoking, you have to sit with discomfort,
Yes.
right? Were there any tips and tricks that you discovered on your quit journey?
Well, I think, like that morning cigarette, you have to adjust your routine. Um, I don't think I really replaced it with like sweets or anything. I know people like turn to candy and stuff like
Yeah.
that. I did rely a little bit also on a sort of self-help book.
Yeah.
And I'm a lifelong meditator. So, I mean, I'm not saying that I'm good at it. It's a lifelong practice.
Same.
But that's part of it,
Yeah, you
right?
notice your
You
thoughts.
notice your thoughts. And so I think a lot of it when you are curbing an addiction is just like you say, meditation is actually all about sitting with discomfort.
That's right.
So it's having the awareness that this is happening, but also that it is transitional. It's going to pass.
That's right. Yeah, it's like kind of like almost like, and it's very meditation oriented. It's like watching sort of like clouds go by and it's never staying the same. And I do think that for me, the patch, and I used the Nicorette gum as well, helped me at least kind of like detach myself from the habit of holding a cigarette.
Mm-hmm.
And I needed to break that habit while also being able to make me adjust to a different level of nicotine. That transition, I felt like, made that more easeful for me and manageable. You're a parent now, as you mentioned, of a
Mm.
16-year-old. And even though smoking rates have gone down, we've seen this rise of these other forms of nicotine in the form of e-cigarettes and other things like that. Like, how are you communicating with your daughter about the dangers of that?
Oh my gosh. I mean, we talk about it all the time because it is everywhere. Um, I mean, I just tell her straight up. I mean, she and I'm really lucky. Like we have really good communication. Um, and I, we have this mutual expectation of one another that we can be open
Mm.
and honest. And so I've told her, like I told her how young I was when I started smoking. I told her how long I smoked for. I told her, she knows about the dangers. So it's just about having communication.
Yeah.
But it is, to me, what's happening now is, yeah, it's really shocking.
It's really concerning that it's
Yeah.
everywhere. Would you say, like we talked about this a little bit before, but like how did your identity as a smoker shape how you viewed quitting in the beginning? Like I know for myself, I did for a while kind of associate a rebellious streak that I
Yeah.
had, I was quite proud of. And even though it's funny because it was so ubiquitous at that time, so I wasn't really like, oh, look at me being an individual.
No, you weren't a rebel. Everybody
No.
smoked. No, but there was, I mean, I do think like I was in the rock and roll business. Like it was, I mean, sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
That's
It's a
right.
real thing. And not to give anybody any ideas, like I really wasn't that outrageous at all. Um, but it was just kind of like, you're in the studio, you're laying down a track and you smoke a butt,
Yep.
or you're doing sound check and you're done sound check and you smoke a butt, or you do your show and then you have a drink and you smoke a butt. Like it was at that time. I mean, I see musicians now and I really think that world has changed a lot. Um, and when it comes to smoking and alcohol.
Yeah.
But during my day in the late 90s, early 2000s, it was just like, yeah, it was really part of the musician persona.
If somebody's listening right now and they are thinking of starting this journey, what advice would you give to like make those first steps?
Just keep trying. I think that there are so many great tools that we have now that can help. And I know, I can't tell you how many times I quit, many, and I just think I didn't give up quitting. And ultimately it worked. And, hopefully it saved my life, like in a real and concrete way.
Yeah. Or at least added years.
Or at least added
right?
years. Yeah. Well, I
No,
mean, yeah.
My dad actually quit at 74 or 75 years of
Amazing.
age. And I just think it's never too late to
No.
quit. And I never would have thought that he would have been able to do it. And the fact that he was able to, I think was a testament to AIDS, things that helped out, like Nicorette gum. He was able to kind of get over that hump and have at least enough distance from it to really then get over the most challenging parts, which is that early stages of things when we're breaking that connection to the cigarette itself.
I think people shouldn't underestimate how the grip of cigarettes, like it's a really intense addiction. I mean, that's known. And so, if you can't get it the first time, keep trying and don't give yourself so much of a hard time. Just say, okay, I'm gonna do this again.
That's right. Begin again.
But yes, you're not weak.
That's right.
Like most people who try to quit have to do it many times.
If you could write a letter to your smoking self, what would it say?
God, don't start. It would just say, don't start. You will regret this. You will regret this. There is nothing about this, no optics, nothing socially. You will regret this.
I think if I was to write a letter to my smoking self, it would be like, recognize that this is a liar. This cigarette is pretending. It's like an evil, horrible friend. One of those toxic friends who you think is like helping you out in life, or you think is making you feel better, only to discover that they're actually slowly trying to like steal your life. Like it's really like,
no, that's a great way to frame it.
And don't trust that. Tara, thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. It's been incredibly delightful to meet you.
Thank you.
And thank you for listening to the Quitting Made Real podcast by Nicorette. And remember, if you're thinking about quitting, it is never too late to make quitting real.